So welcome to our event today. My name is Elena. I'm going to give the microphone or the stage to Veena. Veena, will you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to the India Center. Today we have with us Elena Zelenina, a Russian American artist. Actually, she's a second generation artist because her parents were also artists, and her daughter is an artist who's going to be the third generation artist. And the reason we invited her was because she does art which is connected to Indian culture. And we thought it was very interesting that someone who was born and raised in Russia, lives in America, and yet she is so connected to Indian culture. And we thought it would be nice to have her on as a guest in order to talk about her experiences. So I will let you talk about the rest because I don't want to interrupt your narration of your background.
Thank you. So, yes, the reason actually to give you a little more background, Veena was getting my emails that I sent to people with stories from my travels, with my paintings. And one day I sent in an email with absolutely my beloved, I love it very much. It's from Works on Paper, work that we will look at later on. It's called Removing Obstacles. And it is about Ganesh and the energy of Ganesh and how I understood it. And immediately she reached out to me and said, well, I like this painting. Would you be able to talk about it and do something for the cultural center here in Manhattan? And the immense gratitude I felt at that moment to her, to everyone who is supporting Indian culture, made me so inspired that I wanted to share. How come? Yes, that's true that Russian American actually living in the US promotes Indian culture and Vedic tradition in everything what I do, I think. So to start, I will be sharing my screen with you because of, as I said, share screen. As I said earlier, I had prepared the presentation and I prepared different pieces of art. So this one is the one, it's actually the ending slide of the show. It's where I am right now. I live in a city, I live in New York. I was born also in Moscow, also a very big city. I love big cities. And the cities are kind of like a place where lots of cultures get mixed up. People communicate, and sometimes this fabric of consciousness, everything is intertwined, and navigating it requires, I believe, a lot of spiritual growth, because sometimes it's a lot to figure everything out. So the very, very humble beginnings of mine were in Russia, and my art from that time is very similar to this. So it's oil on canvas, and it's called Pink Forest. And that admiration of nature and connection with nature that came from my family. So I was born in a family of two Russian artists. They both were professional artists, which means they literally did nothing else but paint and get paid for it. And the skill was outstanding, and their diligence and respect towards the craft was so high that it kind of, I feel it still in me, as if I am that little girl in their studio and understanding that you need to take care of the brushes and canvases and paints and think through a lot of things and sometimes allow the energy to flow. So both of them, my stepfather and my uncle, they were very different. They were very different in terms of the style of their painting and attitude towards life in general. So my uncle was a very free spirit and so much creativity, love to life, but mostly he was supported by my aunt, who was a scientist and successful one. So they usually used her money to buy paints and canvases for him. And my stepfather and my godfather was the opposite. He was the man of the family. He was the pillar on which foundation on which everyone stood. So he did not rely on anyone else. And although my mom was also an artist, but he was the main provider with his art, and it was plenty. So he had a very different attitude. So right now, when I help people, because I am a mentor and I am a coach, so when I help people to find the inner strength, confidence, how to be successful, how to find your mission, I very, very much remember my own search and my stepfather's attitude towards everything what he was doing. And in my life, art became a kind of like a superhero, because with its help, I helped my daughter to overcome quite severe learning disability, auditory processing disorder. And to be able to do that, I opened an art school, and then later, it was so obvious when I was helping her that right now it's getting better though, but however, at the time, let's say 20 years ago, the attitude towards art classes in public education was also very much similar to step-by-step approach. That's great, but should not be always that. And it prevents the creative flow, it prevents the opening up of a human being. So at the time when I needed the healing to happen for her, I was searching, because of my background, because I painted, through art and exercises that help rewire the brain. And there are many exercises that you can do with your children or for yourself to stay productive and experience creative energy and just make your life much more fun than it is. So some facts that I prepared for you, and the painting you are looking at, Perfect Stranger, I painted it for almost, painted and assembled, because it's a mixed media piece, for almost 14 years. And it got an award with National Association of Women Artists. And it represents my, not only my, but the spiritual search of a creative person. When it's almost like you feel a Renaissance woman. So any person who comes and says, oh, you just have to be that, and everything in you resists it, because we are so much more than just one easy label. And yes, being a mom, yes, being a traveler. Well, right now I am a grandma too, so I'm exploring that. Being an author, being an artist and a curator, and taking more responsibilities. That's what makes that life so exciting. And if you look at the painting, and you will notice that jewelry screen, I don't know if I can bring it, hope you see it better. Do you see that string that goes up? See this, it goes up into the source. So my idea, what I understood, was that if we don't lose that connection with the source, with the unknown, we're going to be okay. We're going to figure out whatever we need to figure out. My spiritual seeking started with the birth of my son. I did not know much at that time about, I knew formal, I had master's in education, so I had some formal experiences and knowledge, textbook knowledge about different religions, but I wanted to have that immense experience of what it is connecting with the unknown and trusting the unknown. So that's what my, yes, and being a visionary, yes. So that's what my, that's what started my search. And I understood this. On the right, you see a small piece, and it's called contemplation, because I understood that it's going within will create a true breakthrough. The experiences outside, they have to be interpreted in the right context. And that's why we need guidance, we need teachers, we need monasteries where we can go and have access to this kind of knowledge. But that light inside us that keeps pushing us for that context, for the understanding, is within. And on the painting to the left, you see one of my dreams. I experienced one time a dream which was so profound. I woke up and I just had to paint it, because I saw an enlightened being in my dream who gave me this purple, white, and different shades of purple flowers, almost like a blessing. And when I woke up, the whole body was full of energy, was very different energy from my regular existence. And it was such a blessing that I just went and I painted it so that I don't forget. And quite often my drawings, people write, I also write, I have this book of joy, book of memories. And I keep good memories, because with my upbringing, and I noticed with many people upbringing, we are really excellent at remembering sad moments. And the joyful moments, they kind of slip our attention. So, because pain gives us roots. So it's we feel it very strongly. But what gives us hope, inspiration to live, what gives us ideas is this absolutely blissful moments. And I found a way that if I paint them, if I paint a breakthrough connected to them, I'm not going to forget. I'm never going to forget. So that is the story of that. And it feels like sometimes that the true seeking started when I arrived in India in 2008. It was my it was Yatra, Himalayan Yatra. So we went at amazing places, and quite often I felt that my Russian stories of especially fairy tales were right in front of my eyes. We have a story, for example, about the magic egg that has the life inside. And what when I was very, very high, it was a tiny temple. We walked in and it was a huge crystal egg. And I later learned that it's called Shivalingam. And it was exactly like my fairy tale dreams from my childhood. And I saw that immense connection, which, if you noticed, Russian people, for the majority of Russian people, have love and admiration towards India. I spoke to a professor of Sanskrit in Delhi, and she told me, I don't remember her name, unfortunately, it was a long time ago. She told me that we have roots together, that the Vedic culture and Vedic Russia actually comes from India. And there's a lot of, if you look at the languages, pronunciation, so maybe because of that, but most Russians, they grew up and still feel admiration towards Indian culture. And it's not so much towards current Indian culture, although Bollywood, everyone I know loves Bollywood, but it's that ancient rituals, traditional dresses, incredible, this fire homers that just invokes the best part of you. That trip to India was nothing less than miraculous. One episode I want to share, we were high in the mountains and we took a dip in the river. And when I stood up and looked around, the colors changed. If you can imagine that all of a sudden you put the glasses on and all colors around you become so vibrant, like you've never seen that green like that before. It never went completely back to how I saw the world before, but that moment is with me because it was a huge consciousness opening, huge different type of vibration for sure. And you just see the world differently. So this kind of connecting spirituality to India, I have to say, started with Nicholas Roerich. I don't know if you have heard about Nicholas Roerich and his work. It's definitely an enlightened artist. And his work probably, and his wife's Agni Yoga writings was something that shifted me from Christianity, although I still had it in my heart and I still have it, but shifted me more into exploring all other types of religions or all other types of the world and seeing what else is there, how people see. There is a great museum, by the way, in Manhattan that I wouldn't, like, if anyone wants from the Manhattan Indian Center, Cultural Center, wants to go on a tour to this museum, I will be very happy to guide everyone through this place. It's an incredible place with so many paintings by him. He left 7,000 paintings, 7,000 paintings, a lot of about Himalayas, a lot of, he was very much like Leonardo da Vinci. He was a scientist, he was a writer, beautiful fairy tales. I always, when I have classes for children, I use his stories. So it's a gem, definitely a gem in New York. So, but anyway, this painting is what I felt in Himalayas. It was also exhibited and was in the National Association of Women Artists, where I am the membership chair. And this association is the first association of professional association of women artists in the United States, 133-year-old organization. And I wanted to show it because in Himalayas, you often, I felt as if mere communication with people, meeting with people, they are never, there's more transformation that's happening inside, even if you do not fully understand it. I know that for about at least 6 months after I came from Himalayas, I was very silent inside. I traveled many times, not many times, 2 more times there, but that first trip, because the shift of energy, I was able to feel very strongly. 6 months, I was super silent, and it helped me to go through a lot of difficult times, but with a peaceful mind. So my reverence to Himalayas is huge, as you can imagine. That is the painting with which I started. My story, how I met Veena and why we're here today. So it's called Removing Obstacles. And that energy of the beloved God, Lord Ganesha, is what inspires me every single day. And when I was little, I always loved elephants, like many kids. And it's like you have this, like you want to hold it. My aunt once gave me out of nowhere a gray elephant, which was the best ever. Like that gift, I remember as if it happened yesterday. And I realized while traveling through India that that energy of Ganesh is literally unstoppable. It's unstoppable will, persistence. He's going to figure it out. You just hold on to your vision, and there is nothing that can prevent his energy from helping you. So it's, of course, very traditional that many businesses ask for Ganesha's blessings, and do pujas, homas to Ganesha. For a Western mind, which I don't think I have the Western mind anymore, I also don't think I'm 50-50, 50 logical, 50 in reverence to the unseen. Even my logic is closer right now to unseen because of the Ganesha's energy. So that's it. So that's about this painting. So it's 18 by 24, and it's a mix of watercolor, pencils, a little bit of markers, and it's on paper. A lot of works I did in India on paper, whether I was doing here or in India, because of the traveling, because carrying with myself a lot of like brushes and paints that are heavy was tough, because it's you have to be light to be able to travel. So I used paper. That's again, it's all on paper, and probably another thing I have to praise about India, that I understood the female energy, Shakti, much better. I understood how we perceive women and what it is to have a different female energy, and why Mahadev does have two parts of him, male and female, and what is the right attitude. And I really wish I had this kind of knowledge when I was a teenager or in my 20s. And that perception of women and what is happening right now with women abuse, if you look around the world, if the reverence towards the energy that is able to give life is kept, it will be a better world. The world where women are abused cannot be a happy world. Many people are starting to understand it, and I am doing what I can with that, because all this transformation and transitions of that women can do everything what men can. I don't know if it's a great world, because men, I think, lose respect this way of women, and women lose that beautiful energy that helps create. So, but that's a different topic. I explore a lot of women and women's stories and empowering women as I can, of course. So let me show you this. So this is a different energy. This is images from Kumbh Mela. There is a greatest spiritual festival in India, and I spent 1 year, 2016, I spent I think like 21 days or more, and I saw different groups, different enlightened people and how people interact and how it's just incredible to be in the company of people who are seeking. They are seeking something better. They are seeking something better, not only for themselves, but for the whole humanity. And no police, and everything is peaceful and blissful. And older lady was incredible. I had an experience with older lady, and she kept walking. I think she was maybe over 80 for sure, and she wanted to get to the temple, and it was like, that is my desire. And she all of a sudden took my hand and she said, you bring me there. And I am a foreigner. So, and I looked at her and I think, yeah. So me and my friends, we walked right through in the temple gates. They looked at us and they opened the gates for her. And it was like, who are we to have a support for this incredible soul? And I kept thinking about it, and it might have been that we needed to be there, but that energy, when you help someone, you are kind of unstoppable, because let's say with my personality, I might go to a temple, but if it's closed, I will say, oh, okay, it's closed. But if I'm helping someone, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to try to figure out. And it seemed like we were helping her, but I think she was helping us, if it makes sense to you at all. If you type, yes, it makes sense. Type yes if it does make sense. I just want to understand if we are together here. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So this appreciate the response. So these two I prepared to show you. So on your right, the painting is acrylic on canvas, and on the left, it's works on paper, 24 by 18. And I will start with that one. It's called A Musician. So in my world, I was always trying to understand, we have this like almost like a soundtrack going inside our head, and it's not always helpful, let's put it this way. So again, the Vedic tradition and Hindu culture suggests mantras to substitute that non-productive soundtrack with productive soundtrack. So when I was thinking about it, I put the Gayatri mantra, and I was thinking, what is that sound? Who is the sound? And how important it is to hear that sound of the source, to generate the sound of the source within us. And so that piece came around, and it's called Musician. And the piece to your right is when I decided to become an exhibiting artist, and I always exhibited, but I exhibited on a small scale for my students. As I said, I created an art school, so for to help my daughter heal. So I always exhibited locally and through my school, or for fundraisers for monasteries or schools, community theaters. And one year, my daughter, her name is Alice, she's amazing and amazing inspiration for me, because I, as always, when I'm helping someone, I end up expanding a lot, and I end up helping myself a lot. That's a very interesting thing. So she is such being in my life. She helps a lot. So she came to me and said, Mommy, you know, I really, really would be so proud if my mom exhibits like other artists. And I smiled and I thought, oh, that's interesting, because I am exhibiting, but not on a big scale, like New York or internationally, where I exhibit right now. For example, I am flying to Barcelona soon for the opening at the Gaudi place with my work. And it's just, it's very humbling because I feel I am more a person who shares about my spiritual path through art versus the entertainer in a way. And well, anyway, so she asked for that. And this was the first, after I made a decision that, okay, I'm going to embrace it. That was the first, it's called Pistil. The core source of creativity, that's what this painting is about. And she is that. So continue on that path. These three pieces I wanted to show for different reasons, but they are connected. Remember how I started and said that I am still a city girl living in now different cities and experiencing different cities, but enjoying this vibrant fabric of different cultures mishmashed together. And the bottom painting, it's acrylic on canvas, is called Her Healing Presence. It's about 2020, if you remember the pandemic. I was in New York at that time. And for several months, I was absolutely alone. My daughter was with her dad in a different state. My son was in a different state. So all I could do, people, as you know, did not go to see each other. So some Zoom was, communications was present, but that's about it. So I was walking by the river, feeling what was going on, and praying to Shakti, all forms of Shakti, on healing. And it was one point when I understood that, yes, it's going to happen, because I felt her. And there was one moment when the river became so polluted. I was walking by the Hudson River, and it was so much dead fish. It was so heartbreaking to look at it, and the authorities were giving some bizarre explanations for that. And my prayer became almost like a heartbeat. There is that tradition in the Christian, actually, tradition when you incorporate Jewish prayer into the heartbeat. So it just happened, it merged. My heartbeat and the mantra went together, and I felt it's going to be okay. So hence this painting was born. And the painting above it, that one is called Urban Fresh. And the image of that painting was in Barcelona in Italy. And the idea behind it's this almost futuristic world that we live in, with everything shifting and changing, and logic and how we know the world everything shifting and changing, but fresh ideas and the fresh ballerina-like dancing flower bouquet is what I think has the potential to shift and move the whole world around. And if you know how much Indian dance and Indian traditional dance, how much meaning is behind all the movements or mudras that beautiful women create with their hands, it's mind-blowing. And to the left, you see the small works on paper series. Again, it's an abstract. And it's all about love and the source inside. And I do sometimes this type of art just to allow myself to play with shapes, dismissing the solidity and looking only at the unseen things. You know, there is a saying, everything is just a line. And Paramahamsa Nityananda said that. I love that quote for artists, because everything is, in fact, just a line. And if we look at the world like that, we will be able to experience oneness of its all much more. And when we experience oneness, we feel much less separation, much less fear, anger. We feel that possibility and the blissful existence. And I think that's what the most important thing to live a happy life is. So that's the quote for today. We are ever evolving through creativity and will persistence. And life is always on our side. So throughout my spiritual searches, meeting amazing spiritual teachers and receiving amazing spiritual guidance, I realized that, yes, life is always on our side. Sometimes takes time to realize that, but it's just the truth. It's only the truth. We are the source. We are the creators, playing that infinite game. And creativity is something that helps us connect to the source. Creativity is something that helps us know our own unknown parts of us. So I would very much love every single one of us here at this talk or around the world, just experience that source that is so ready to be open with creative ideas, and whatever you decide to create, it's all fine. So that concludes my talk for today. And I am open to questions if you have any. To ask questions, you just need to unmute yourselves and we can have a very pleasant conversation, I hope.
Okay, so I have a question. Because Vedic art or traditional Indian art is all about spirituality. Now, you grew up in the Soviet Union, a communist country where the concept of spirituality doesn't exist in communism. And yet you said your parents and you had this whole thing, like, for example, your pink forest painting. So how did this, whole concept of spirituality come to you in an environment where spirituality wasn't supposed to exist?
Thank you. Yeah, and it's I learned later. For example, my godfather, I never knew, but under every painting of his, he always started with "God bless," putting it in chalk. However, I learned it much later in life. So my idea and the opening started with, I was about to become a mom. For the first time, I was in Russia, so we're supposed to get married really early, which I did. I got married at 19 while I was still getting my master's education. And we also had like this 5 years, you enter into the program that's you supposed to go through till you get your master's. So I was thinking, I married at 19, so when I was taking the exams for the master's, I was 8 months pregnant at that time. So I was so scared. My thought was like, I am bringing a new life into the world, and I only know this, but I cannot protect the child with only this. There should be something else. And so I went to Russian Orthodox Church and I said, I want to be baptized. And I was 22, so the priest looked at me and said, what do you know? I said, I don't know anything. I just know that I have to be baptized. So I asked my stepfather to become my godfather, and mom's friend became my godmother. And I went through baptism. And only after that, I started reading the Bible. And I did it for 7 years until I had the breakthrough, like until I really understood what Jesus was talking about. I had it was amazing. I had this opening in the heart. And that opening, diligently, I was reading for 7 years, every night. But that opening allowed me to explore Agni Yoga, explore Hinduism. After that, I went into that, and I did that for 7 years. And then I was going to Buddhist monastery for 7 years, and then I traveled to India.
Okay, my second question is, you mentioned Shakti, the Indian concept of female energy, and how in the West, there is this whole concept of feminism, which has absolutely kind of excludes the male energy. And it's there is this whole thing that we do not need men to exist. So, how can you go through just your perception? How do you go, through the whole life or live in a planet where 50% of the population is male, and yet the so-called feminists say that, we don't need men? So your perspective on that.
Thank you, because I think women got actually tricked into that thinking that it's so popular and so wrong on so many levels, because it's children who grow up in the homes where mother is absent and father is absent or disrespected. They're not happy children, because it's father represents of how high the person can go, how much the person can achieve. So when you have to look at your perception of a male, which is your father figure, how much you think you can become. And mother represents how much stability in life, how much trust in life you have. So you take away that woman who is supposed to create stability, loving environment where man can become what he can become and should become, and kids are relaxed, you take it out and you have this whole culture of running behind something. But people who are sending women on that quest, they want the brain, apologize because I might create a controversy here, but they want brainwashed children who believe that, okay, so let's put this goal, let's accomplish this. And then we teach people basically to be like efficient Google, which no need. And no one helps them to become emotionally stable, emotionally healthy, not depressed. So I have, as a coach, I have CEOs right now, and that's the main thing we are going through is restoring this confidence in life, which in the right environment, it's the job of a mother and a father. So I think everyone should be doing their part. Women should be nurturing and creating life. And by that, I mean the idea, the energy of the possible infrastructure, where man can, in fact, create the infrastructure itself. Right? They can build the house, but she has to visualize the house. She has to see the happy place. She has to be able to keep the smile for him and for her children. Then we will have a happier society. So.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
I have a question, sorry. So
Yeah, sure.
At the end, you mentioned this quote about how we are ever evolving in a society through creativity. And I think I'm wondering if you see both progress and the opposite, something like regression, like when people sort of decline as like a byproduct of creativity. Like, do you see that we're always creating ourselves? Is that how you perceive like humans?
Mm-hmm. So creativity has two different aspects. One aspect is, let's say you have scissors and a nail. You do not have a hammer. So the creative approach, let's say you need to put the nail in the wall, will be like, okay, I have a scissors. They are pretty thick and strong. I can use it as a hammer. That is the creativity, which is similar to artificial intelligence creativity. It's huge data analysis and combination of what is already known and using it. So let's say in the cultures where you have less available things, not like, okay, we have this hammer, this hammer, this hammer, this hammer, which is what I discovered when I came to the US. People who grow up with that, they tend to look for their specific tool. Well, in the cultures where they do not have that variety, they will be like, oh, okay, I can use this and do the same thing. The other type of creativity is almost reading the information field that we are in, and some ideas that are not seen yet. For that, only humans can do that. So degrading with creativity never happens. Degrading happens with the context and disrespect towards that energy. For example, oh, it's not a big deal to do that. I can, you're creative people, you are just like, I can make AI do that. That means disrespecting your own Vishuddhi center, which is your ability to express your uniqueness, because human beings on the planet, no one is the same. You are the only thing that's happening right now, not your soul that travels through incarnations, but your soul that expresses through your DNA. Never existed before, will never exist before. It's the only one. So the God or the source is not an engineer. It's the creator that tries to experience itself through infinite possibilities, where you are the possibility. How can it happen? Through the creative energy, through you channeling your existence, your uniqueness, your contribution to the whole incredible life in which we exist. So if we dismiss that and turn everything into, oh, it's easy, we just need to go and analyze the big numbers and figure out that you can also combine this and this, you are dismissing what you are. So through context, we can degrade. Through energy itself, we can only evolve. That's why Hinduism gives a lot of right context, a lot of right context. You are unique. You are unique. That is the right, and it's a good thing. That's the right context. If you feel like, oh, I am, who cares? I am unique, that's right. But it's some kind of, who cares about my uniqueness? I'm not good enough. That needs to be addressed. That thought needs to be addressed and worked through. Not the thought that you are unique, because you are. You, through your own unique energy, you can evolve. If you choose, because it's free will is here. Did I answer the question?
Yes, I think I understand that in a certain context, we can say that something is regressing, but when you think of the energy itself, we're always creating ourselves and recreating ourselves so it's always progress in some ways, I think. Yeah, you did answer the question.
Thank you.
Anybody else has any questions? No? Okay, then I'll tell you something. You mentioned that you dreamt purple flowers once, because this is very interesting. There was a doctor from India who was doing something similar to Reiki. And he would play the music and, he would ask you what colors you see. And I told him I can see purple. And he said purple was the color of spirituality, which surprised me because I always thought, oh, golden light or something. He said, no, purple is the color of spirituality. So it's very interesting that you mentioned that. And also you mentioned something else, which was that when you went to, the Kumbh Mela, the whole energy, and there were certain places, Himalaya Yatra, etc. Suddenly the red felt more red and the green felt more green. Mm-hmm. When this doctor would do the equivalent of Reiki, so basically what they're doing is they're giving prana, what is known as prana, the life force, because the Chinese call it chi. So I had the same experience after he did the whole Reiki work. It's something he calls something different, but yes, the red looks redder and the green looks greener, and all of that. Another interesting thing you mentioned was the river, and it is very strange because the last few weeks I've been meaning to talk to you about this, but there is a festival which is celebrated by the Kodawa tribe, which is in southern India. It's called Kurg. The place is called Kurg, and they have a special river festival. And I was going to sit down with you and say, let you and me do that in the Hudson for next year. It's around October. So I thought it was very interesting that you brought up the river in the conversation without us having, had the meeting about it. And it was just a thought in my mind that we have to do this as a part of the India Center events, as, the whole river festival, so to speak.
Oh, I would love
So,
to.
so for
I would
2020,
love to.
yeah.
Thank you so much. I would love to.
Yeah, so we will put that together for, next October, because that's around the time, because it's of course the lunar calendar, so it keeps shifting every year. But, it's approximately in the month of October. I'm trying to get more details, and I was trying to see if I could find somebody from the community itself to tell us, exactly how to do. I kind of, read about it, but I would rather have somebody who has done it before,
Yeah,
so
of course.
that they can guide us as to how to do it. So that was something that came up. And of course, next year we are going to have our 20th anniversary. So we want to do a whole series of events. So we have a whole lot of planning to do for that. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. Does anybody else have any questions at all? No? Reverend doesn't have any questions? I would have presumed
No,
that
no
you.
questions today.
Okay, so yeah, so that's anything else that you would like to close with, Elena?
Well, I wanted to thank everyone who came to listen, because I appreciate interest. Your interest in my life helps me create, because it's hard to do it. It's like the chef, right? You can really find a chef who cooks the meal and then throws it in the garbage because no one is eating it. So it's the same here. When I paint, sharing my stories and having conversations about your stories is what makes my life exciting and interesting and connecting to you. And I'm very grateful for everyone who came, and for everyone who will be watching this on the cable network or on a video that we are going to post. Very happy, very grateful for the opportunity. Let this 2023 be our explosion of Indian culture in Manhattan. Let's do events together. Let's celebrate life with art. It's so, it's exciting and expanding, right? So I would love that.
Fantastic. So I invite everyone who's here to come to our dinner next weekend, which we are doing in an Indian restaurant. So you can all have some, delicious Indian food, and then we can plan for an exciting, 2023. And I'll say something. I don't know if this resonates with you, but a friend of mine who's a sculptor, she once said that uh, all her ideas already exist in the universe. She's simply downloading them. So I think, that is, one thing. And you were talking another thing about the light within you. In Sanskrit, we say, Aham Brahma Asmi. I am God. So, we will end with that, and let's meet next weekend at the dinner. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And we'll see you again and again and again. Okay. Namaste.
Bye.
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 Bye.